Hello and happy Black History Month. Welcome to another episode of Tory Talk. I'm your host, Katori Langley, and I had the absolute pleasure of sitting down with the directors of PBS's latest four-part docuseries, Gospel. Guys, it is time to get some gospel in your life, okay? Absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait for you guys to see it. It premieres on February 12th. So make sure you stay tuned for the rest of this interview to see the director's vision and the amazing things they said about it. I hope you enjoy.
From the blues to hip-hop, African Americans have driven sonic innovation for more than a century. While styles have changed, there's one sound that's remained constant, a source of strength and courage, comfort and wisdom. Gospel.
That's a little bit of gospel.
Gospel music is soul. Gospel music is R&B. Gospel music is funk. It's hip-hop. Gospel music is the full spectrum in terms of its sound of Black music and beyond.
Mahalia Jackson, what was special about her voice?
She believed every word she was singing, and she wanted you to believe it.
Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for stopping and talking to me. My name is Katori Langley of Tory Talk with Katori Langley. I'm super excited to be here talking to you guys. I want to start by saying Happy Black History Month.
Same.
I am super excited to be doing this interview about this documentary today. Ladies, absolutely phenomenal. Okay, I had I watched it in one day. I was like, it's gonna take me a couple of days. No, when I flew through, I took notes. It was so good, and I'm so excited to be able to say that two Black women are making history during Black History Month. So I want to start with that.
Wow. Thank you.
I know that's a lot to pack. I know I'm fangirling, but it was just so good, and I just had so many emotions while feeling it. While watching it, excuse me. First, I want to start with, what is your favorite gospel song?
Ooh.
Oh, that's hard.
My favorites. Mine is definitely You Brought the Sunshine. It's such a jam. Like the music, the message, the melodies, the harmonies, just all of it is just like, every time I hear that song, I'm just like, the smile on my face is just like uncontainable.
I would have going between two. Mine would be Stand on His Word. That's like my jam. That's my hype one. That's my hype gospel song. I'm like.
So surprisingly for me, I have Fred Hammond, A Closer Walk, mostly because that's it's like, how something unlocks a memory.
Yeah.
I'm 31, almost 32. So that was like a song that my mom used to play a lot growing up. So it's like every time I hear it, it's like the emotions kick in. And then I have one that's non-conventional. I like Mariah Carey, Fly Like a Bird.
Oh,
I haven't heard that one. Okay.
Oh my.
Okay. We got some homework to do, Shayla. We got to listen.
Right.
Fly Like a Bird.
It's not a traditional gospel song, and I'm really wanting to touch on that because you ladies did a beautiful job of talking about that. I think that was by episode 4. When you get into contemporary. But what was so interesting about it is her voice in that song, accompanied by the choir. It brings me to tears. I've been listening to that song since I think it came out in 2008.
wow.
Yeah.
Every time. It's that moving. So
Wow.
something for you guys who know it all about gospel. I'm dropping.
Update my playlist.
So, ladies, first I want to start by saying, how did we get this idea for this documentary? I think it's so important to tell this story, and you told it beautifully. So how did this come about?
It started way back with the Black Church. This is our story. This is our song. And that was hosted by executive producer Henry Louis Gates, which we'll call Skip. And that series came out in really, a time of need, unbeknownst to anybody. The world was in the pandemic. And in doing that film, there was a lot of stuff that didn't make the cut. We were focused on the institution. 400 years in 4 hours is a lot to pack in. And with the success of the Black church, it just seemed like a natural, just, part two, or as we called it, Black Church the Musical, to continue to tell the story about what's happening inside that institution, when it comes to the craft of singing, the craft of preaching. And we were privileged enough to work again and collaborate with each other and with Skip to pick up some of those stories that were left on the cutting room floor, expand on them, as well as bring some new stories and introduce some new characters.
And Shayla, you second that?
I second that. Yeah. I mean, like I said, Skip is always citing W.E.B. Du Bois, who talked about, the foundation of Black spirituality is the preacher, the music, and the frenzy. And so we weren't able to kind of really unpack those three elements of Black spirituality. And so this series really shows the double helix of preaching and gospel within Black worship, and how those things sort of coexist and cross collaborate and cross pollinate and influence each other, and really form the soundtrack of Black spirituality.
And before watching this, 31-year-old me was like, oh, I know everything. We're going to sit and they're going to tell me that we were somewhere in Georgia in a church. I was completely blown away with the aspect of it really getting to be the gospel that we know and love today in Chicago. I always feel like they never teach us history and then we have to teach ourselves later in life. But from watching this documentary, and what was it? The one about food that's on Netflix.
High
on the Hog.
And then I was just like, oh my gosh, Chicago is such a hub. And it's like, you don't know this. So I thought it was so amazing first that we started there. And then what I loved, and I don't know if that was because of you guys are ladies and talented, but the idea of there's a powerful Black woman every step of the way. I felt like really sung through with every episode. Was that purposefully done?
Yeah, and that's so great that you get it. I mean, that's one thing that Shayla and I definitely are intentional about. There's so many stories about the men, and not dissing the men, but there's a lot of incredible, amazing women that are supporting and lifting these men up. And gospel is a prime example of that. You look at Sally Martin, Dorsey was great, but Sally Martin took him to another level. Her business savvy, her acumen really set a standard of what gospel could be and what it could raise, or what it could, make, the commercialization of it. So yeah, we're just, we know the men, but who is the woman? Who are the women that are leading that charge and pushing them? Vicky Mack. I mean, like you said, each hour.
Yeah, the women are the innovators because they're not necessarily given the mic. They got to take it in some ways. Mahalia is using all of the mediums at her disposal, not just music. She's on radio, she's on television, she's politically engaged. She's using all the forums at her disposal to convey her message. And folks like Vicky Mack Latayad, who is the innovator behind Gospel-Centric and bringing contemporary gospel into the platinum era, and using different innovative marketing strategies to get this music into other places and into to new audiences at clubs and roller skating rinks and all kinds of stuff like that. That was something that I didn't know that much about. All you hear about is like Stomp changed the world, but you don't understand the infrastructure and the foundation that other folks are putting behind it to kind of lift it up and get it out there into people's ears. And so the ability to, also center folks like Maddie Moss Clark, who are, innovating, SATB and getting that music out there and creating fantastic harmonies was, a blessing to be able to do that.
Now, you guys mentioned Vicky, and she's on my list. I know I only have 10 minutes. I have to jump around. But what was so amazing to me to hear about Vicky's story, again, 31. So I was born in 1992. So gospel to me has always been the gospel of episode 4, right? And to hear the history was just so amazing. But it's like, of course, there was a woman that decided, a Black woman that decided there needed to be a shift. And what really spoke to me during the documentary was when you guys talked a lot about the shift in like the dynamics between the church and secular. It came up often, and it's been like a struggle ever since the beginning up until the most current. And with Vicky, again, stop. None of this would have happened without her. And that's the gospel that I grew up on. So for you ladies, how did you feel the dynamic between the secular and traditional like shaped a lot of this story?
I mean, that's the centerpiece of all of this stuff, is like the tension between Saturday night and Sunday morning, is like how you communicate between those two spaces and times, and who's doing what, when, and where. And sometimes those lines are really rigid, and sometimes those lines are really blurred. And as we've seen throughout the course of the series, folks like Georgia Tom and Thomas Dorsey and Mahalia, and even on down to Kirk Franklin, were all told they were making devil's music. Gospel music's gone too far. What are you doing? And each of them showed that, the innovations that they brought to bringing new audiences and taking this music outside of the church's walls was its own form of proselytizing and getting more people to hear this music, and that they were in fact doing God's work by putting these things in these new and in different kinds of spaces. And so that's something that we wanted to underscore throughout the series, was that innovation was necessary.
And Stacey, you're like, yep.
Yep. On the nose.
Another thing that you guys touched on, like, again, I was just absolutely blown away watching Twinkie. I mean, oh my God, like, what an amazing experience to be able to capture some of these people while we still have them with us.
Yes.
And
yes.
amazing. Like, just of course, I don't know, I guess I have a bias because I am a Black woman, but every part of the Black women's story that she told was just so phenomenal. When I finished watching, I was so angry but so happy for Reverend Shirley Caesar. I was just like, you don't let none of them stop you. You do whatever you need to do. And then she did it in such an incredible way. I know I have a little bit of time left, but I just wanted to talk about the piece where you guys talk about TD Jakes and how he had the Women Art Thou Loose, but it's clearly like from the lens of a man telling the stories of women. And that's why I think it's so important that you all tell this story and that you had so many influential women a part of it. Why did you feel like that piece was important to put into the story?
Yeah, I mean, there is a way to look at the sort of commercialization of Black preaching and Black music that happens in sort of the 90s and in this contemporary moment. And certainly you can't have that conversation without talking about Bishop TD Jakes, who also is like a CL Franklin and like a Mahalia Jackson, are using all the platforms at his disposal to get the word out. He's making movies, he's got all these CDs and mixtapes and conferences and all this stuff. And certainly the Woman Thou Art Loosed conference, which is been going on for decades, reached a level of access and audience development that it's hard not to talk about that. And the fact that most of the people who attend those conferences are Black women, who, as we know, are the foundation of the Black church, is not insignificant. And so it was really important for us to show that, but also to show that as he's passing his torch on to his daughter, who herself has, grown up in this space and has created her own brand, for lack of a better word, to reach young women and women of all generations. And so it was really kind of fascinating for us to be there and capture that moment as well, to show that passing of the torch, which is something that we sort of do throughout the series, is this baton passing from one generation to the next, who keep innovating and taking the music and the preaching into new spaces.
So last thing, ladies, is what do you want people to take away when they tune in and watch this? I want to watch it again.
Please do. Definitely watch on the 12th and 13th so everyone will know. And even the Gospel Live, watch that on the 9th.
I was like, I didn't watch them. I would go back to watch that because I was watching the screener. But what do you want them to take away? Like, what is the takeaway that you want people at home of every race to take away from this movie? Well, documentary, excuse me.
Well, we want people to I mean, gospel's about feeling, it's about emotion, and we want people to feel that, we want obviously people to understand the history of it, the work and the craft behind it, but we also want people to understand the essence, the beauty. We want people to feel that, this is truly good news in bad times, and whatever season of life you're in, gospel speaks to that. Gospel touches on those key moments. I mean, you even said, Tori, in your life, and you can play it wherever you are. And we want people to really see that and understand that this is a tradition that is just not, and Shayla has said this, and I'm probably taking this slide from Shayla, but it's not just relegated to the church. I mean, from her experience and others' experience, it's beyond the four walls. And to contain it is not doing it true justice. So, and the same goes for the word, it's a craft, and not everyone can go up to a pulpit and recite, look at a Bible and preach. There's a lot of time and work and research that goes into it. And same with the song and singing and preparing to sing before your congregants.
Well, ladies, I could talk to you all day, but I only had 2 minutes. But again, I want to thank you guys so much for talking. Thank you guys for the work that you've done, not just on this, documentary series, but on all of the amazing work that you're doing to uplift all of us. And I appreciate it so much. And I can't wait for all of you at home to watch gospel. You will cry, you will laugh, you will sing, you will feel so good. And it ends on total praise. And if that wasn't enough, it was like, they're trying to make me cry. They want me to cry. Thank you, ladies, so much. It was very nice talking to you. And until next time, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Tori.